Not everybody at once now. I think, I'm sorry you can't see the video, Jacqueline.
There's an answer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Try to with her recognize, say yes or no.
Right.
In the beginning.
Yes, he was trying to get, he kind of validated her selection. I think he had, my observation was that he had it with those big devices and they were expensive, and he thought, I can make a quick fix for my daughter that's more portable, less obvious, and would work for her, you know, out in the community. I think that was his objective. But what kind of environment do you think that would be, or environments do you think this method of using that app would be good for?
Everywhere.
Shopping.
School.
School.
Dressing.
Go out to eat.
Eating.
Dressing and eating. And all different environments. Anywhere, right? Yeah. Positioning. Let's talk about her positioning. How is she positioned for using that?
Well, she needs good stability to be able, she's going to be touching.
So was she touching?
Her dad was guiding her hand.
So how was she selecting? She did that in her eye gaze. He was watching her eyes. And then he would verify and say yes or no. Is this what you wanted to say? And then he did the hand over hand thing. I noticed she had a lot of drooling, but she's concentrating. And she's kind of gotten her head down in his lap, but she's not very stable, no. But the reality of it is that you have to respect the father's position on wanting her to have something that's less obvious, less obtrusive. I think that was his thing, and so we have to respect that. I would think she could be more independent if she had some kind of, maybe a larger device that was more directed, maybe a reflective dot or something that could activate the buttons just simply by moving her head, because she seemed to have pretty good head control. Or a camera that would go, you know, go off of her eye, the, what's it called? I have it under computer access. It'll go back there. We'll look at it. But yeah, there's a camera on some of the devices, and it picks up eye gaze.
Retina.
Yeah, it'll pick up on the retina.
Do you think he gave her enough time to answer the question? You know, because I mean, I think I do it too, where I kind of rush. I would give Olivia a choice, but I would kind of rush her to it.
Right,
But
wait
I wonder
time.
maybe if she was actually, you know, observing and just kind of soaking it all in, and just wondering if he.
And that's also another good valid point. The wait time, and also we're creating a responder. How can she initiate? How can she say, hey, Dad, I'm slipping. Hey, Dad, wipe my mouth. I want to go outside. She can't initiate with this system. She's simply a responder. He asks the questions, and then she responds. And we hope that we give our kids a lot more than just responses and labeling. We have to give them from the get-go. It's not like you just work on walking and then you work on talking and then, you know, it's all happening simultaneously. And so we have to really give them opportunities to use the different modes of communication, to ask questions, to make comments, to do the uh-oh, whoops, and all those things that, you know, that our kids that do not have disabilities naturally pick up on. So we need to use strategies to kind of get those going too. Anyway, oh, we didn't finish. Access was her eyes. Language, we just talked about that. That's pretty much what I was explaining there, but is it anybody else have any comments, observations about the language? No? Okay. The symbols. He used real photographs, right? Photographs of the actual items. So that's something that when you're working together, you really need to. What? I'm sorry.
I mean, actually language itself
A system of symbols, yeah.
Because they're in Chinese in it.
Oh, if they're in Chinese?
Yeah, because it's the actual
Characters.
words.
Oh, the characters, right. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Room for growth. How much room for growth would there be for her to use this system? Yeah.
Well, using it like the way it was in the video, there is, we don't have to change a lot.
Right.
To be able to actually communicate. This way is a good way, she can make choices when she's really young, but her physical impairment prevents her from really making a choice on her own. So she has to be accommodating to, physically being able to make her
And as she gets older and her thinking gets more sophisticated, that communication system is not going to work for her. There's not a lot of room for growth. So, very good. All right, we had some participation. Yay. All right. Now to implementation. We talked about access. Now, access can mean a lot of different things. Access could be a physical access, but it can also mean just making things available. I brought a number of catalogs and stuff for you guys to look through and see if there's anything that kind of catches your interest in terms of the kids that you work with, to make things accessible. It's hard to know what's out there. You're right. We are just bombarded. And how do you know what's good and what's bad and that kind of stuff? On the resource list, I've given you some good links. There are discussion groups. There are support groups that, and the social skills part, that, we need to use each other. We need to collaborate. If you guys find something that's really helpful, please share it with me and I'll pass it on. So that's how we do that. Configuration of the technology to interface, and that's like, like we were doing the example of the game, and we were interfacing by me doing it, me clicking on it, but what if we had a touch screen, monitor it? The kid could just, the child, I should say kid, it sounds so bad, the child could, reach and point, or use a pointer, or use a mouse, or we have to look at different access and configuration. What kind of supports, and this is really the big thing, we want our kids to be independent as possible. And if that means partial participation and they can do a little bit of a task, they need to feel success and they need to feel, part of that. So we need to just use enough prompts to get them engaged, but not take over. Hand over hand, you should just be for this long, and then you should be backing off. Hand under hand often is better than hand over hand. This is very, a lot of kids will pull back and stuff. It's like you don't want somebody grabbing your hand and move, you know what I mean? So even hand under hand, guided where they're actually directing your hand. If they don't have good poker fingers, to poke, you can have your finger and they can push this way. So they're an active participant. We throw so many words at kids too, and we need to just cut to the chase. A few simple words and not bombard them. Sabotage, I like to use it with the little ones. A helping doll. A helping doll is a doll that's participating in the activity, if it's a game or whatever, and the doll can be bad and make the wrong choices. And then you're prompting that child to get after the doll to do it right. So you're getting communication, interaction out of the child by using the doll, you see? Or the doll can model, get on the truck and ride this way with your feet this way, whatever you're doing, whatever your activity is, scooter board or whatever you're doing. Dolls are really helpful. Sabotaging could be, it's time we're going to make chocolate milk. And you put what do we need? A glass and then the chocolate, and it's in a packet, and you just stick the packet in the glass and give it to the child, you know, what's going to happen? They're going to have to communicate. They're going to have to say, no, open, or something, you know, you provide that, you know, doing something silly, putting it on a plate on your head instead of on the table. You know, those kinds of things where you're getting more active participation. Make sure your purpose is well-defined and measurable. So when you collaborate and you think, I think maybe a top-down versus a bottom-up. A lot of our developmental scales go bottom-up. They do this, then they do this, then they do this at this age, and this at this age, and this. But if you take a top-down approach, what do I want my child to do? What do we want this child to be able to do? Independent living, supported living. How do we want them to go to college? Do we want them to learn in a trade school? What are our goals and aspirations for these kids? And then back it up. What skills do they need? You know, high school. What skills do they need junior school? What skills will they need in elementary? What do they need right now? So it's a top-down approach, and it's very functional.
I had a problem with that as a parent, because it's like, what do you want for your child? Well, I don't know what he's going to be able to do. You know, he's this little guy, and by the, you know, the end of the day, well, I don't even know, how can I know what I want for him? I want him to be typical is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's not like, yeah.
it's a really hard thing from a parent, especially when you're asking the parent to make that decision.
I know.
Or parental.
And I think, too, that's a good point. I think the parents feel a pressure to make the right choice. But it's not so much that, it's just identifying, even if it's way off the mark, some mark, because we get bogged down in our little ones when they're little and not see into the future. So it's kind of a way of forcing yourself to think, and even if you're off the mark, even if you're shooting for the moon, you know, and they never get there, whatever, you're going to be laying down some fundamental skills that'll help them go as far as they can. So I don't think it's a right or wrong answer. It's just a starting point to guide the breaking down of the skills so that we can teach what's very valuable, not what's on the developmental scales. They can skip things on the developmental scales and still be very functional. So it's just my experience, but I can see how that would be. I know. I mean, I face the same thing with my son. I still do. I don't know what he's going to do. I hope he figures it out. He's 23, by the way. So good point. You need a team leader. Somebody has to take the lead, and it doesn't matter who it is, but when you come together as an interdisciplinary team, somebody's got to take the reins and say, okay, let's get together. We have to make a meeting. We have to talk about this kid. We got to get, you know, our goals identified. Are we on the same page? You can get the same goals, you know, a collaborative picture, and come up